Bucky Brooks, good to see you, sir, here from the NFL Media Group. I'm having a little bit of fun, but I'm also being serious here. What is the rookie quarterback class looking like for a team that's in the top 10 that now knows the veteran quarterback market has completely dried up on them on the Jets?
Well, I think the big thing, the Jets have to make a determination what is available and what do they want at a position. I think when you're the Jets and you know that you're probably under the gun to win, you're Ty Bowles, you're Mike McCagnon, and you know that you have to win, you probably want to go with a veteran presence.
Yes.
Because that's going to give you the best opportunity to win. You like the young guys that may be available, Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky,
nice.
Some of the other guys, but the veteran quarterback is probably going to give you an opportunity to win 8 or more games, where a rookie, it's uncommon unless the situation is perfect like Dallas was for Dak Prescott. I just think it's hard. I just think it's hard to depend on a young guy in the top 10 to come in and to be able to get everything right if all the pieces aren't already in place for him.
Which kid could that be, based on what you saw at the Combine, what you've seen on tape, what you're hearing coming out of the interview rooms, Bucky?
Based on what I'm hearing that Deshaun Watson could be that guy because of the intangible qualities that he brings to the table. Winning pedigree, 32-3 during his time at Clemson. He's a guy that won a national title. The bigger the stage, the better he plays. Coaches like that. When I talk to people about how he interviewed, they raved about how he came in with the it factor, the charisma, the leadership ability. They were surprised at how much he understood from a coverage understanding standpoint, how to play the game, all that other stuff. They told me, in comparing and contrasting, Mitchell Trubisky was impressive, but he just didn't have that stuff to him that Deshaun had. They like Mitch's ability, his arm talent, the way he threw it. They would say to a man that he probably had a better season on tape than Deshaun Watson. But the missing component could be, or the deciding factor could be, Deshaun Watson's ability to win games and the fact that he played so many games over his time compared to Trubisky's 13-game
So
slate.
dynamic player. Okay. Great character.
Great.
Terrific from the neck up.
All the way.
Plays in big games.
Loves it.
In big ways. Loves the spotlight. Does not shy from it.
Has won at every level.
That's one quarterback.
Yep.
Another quarterback, veteran quarterback, extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
Has won games before, but has now been sent packing by 2 teams and has the MO of not caring. Which one fits a New York stage? Or is that not a fair assessment from an evaluator's point of view of Jay Cutler? Did I just tear him?
Kind of
unfairly.
Him. I would say this about Jay Cutler.
Please.
Super talented, big arm. He's a guy that's very, very smart. He's competitive. I think the body language stuff is real because you just wonder about the care factor when you look at him on tape. He just doesn't exude the leadership qualities that you would want from a franchise quarterback. However, not being in the building, I just don't know what his interactions are when it comes to it. I will say he's tough. He has won some games, but I can't put his record all on him because I can't say he's always been surrounded by the best talent to do it. But I will say this, after you play for a long time in the league, you are what you are. And so if you're a coach and you're trying to figure out, do I want Jay Cutler or Deshaun Watson? A lot of it depends on where are you from a status standpoint in your contract. Do you have time to wait on Deshaun to grow up into the franchise quarterback that you think he can be? Or do you have to win right away? Because if you have to win right away, it's easier to take a Jay Cutler, ask Jay Cutler what he likes to do on offense, and build an offense around that. With a new offensive coordinator in John Morton, a bunch of new pieces that are kind of coming over, you're rebuilding the defense, you're retooling the offense. It's a lot for anybody to jump in. I would probably skew towards the veteran because in the midst of all that chaos, at least you have a guy who is comfortable playing the game. He knows the game. He understands verbiage. He knows the speed and tempo of the game. Whereas with a young guy, everything is new. And I don't know if you could support him enough to allow him to have success.
Bucky Brooks, my compadre from the NFL Media Group, draft analyst here on the Rich Eisen Show. Will Watson be available top 10, do you think?
I think so because if you look at the dominoes and the way that they've gone, Cleveland is probably going to take the pass rusher at number 1.
Garrett, correct?
Yes.
There's no question about it.
Well, I think he's going to be – I think you kind of have to take him based on how he's performed on tape and how he looked at the combine, I think you kind of open yourself up to criticism if you bypass him and he turns out to be the star that all the signs say that he could be.
Okay.
So then you go to San Francisco with Brian Hoyer. That gives them a short-term starter. And then you're hearing the rumors about Kirk Cousins, so they're probably off the board. Chicago with Mike Glennon, they're done. You go down to
Hold
6.
on, are they done though? I mean,
I think we're pretty close to that agreement probably being in place. And if they take
no, I'm assuming that it is. I'm not saying that they're. I'm saying, are they done from a quarterback perspective?
Well, I think they can take
at
the quarterback,
3?
but I don't think they take the quarterback at 3 because now you're saying I have Mike Glennon. We'll take another blue chip player at 3. We can come back late in the draft and address the quarterback situation. Maybe it's the top of the second round.
Right.
But so that puts them out. So the only team within the top 10 that really has a quarterback need would be the New York Jets. And so if we're saying that and we're looking at the free agent market versus taking a rookie, it's just hard for me to think that Todd Bowles, knowing how tenuous his situation could be, is going to endorse, hey, let's go get the rookie. The rookie's going to save you my job.
Well, we're looking at your mock draft top left. If the LABC could leave, just as soon as you popped it up.
Oh, that's all right.
They put it back. Can you guys put it back up there? Because I saw, Malik Hooker 2nd overall. Do you think that the 49ers with his coming off of surgery, they pull the trigger on him sight unseen?
I think that's pre-combine stuff. I think now the board changes. And if I was to say that a safety would go at number 2, I would say Jamal Adams would probably go number 2.
To San Francisco.
To San Francisco, if they're looking for that. Because when you really look at this draft for San Francisco, the last 2 years, they've got big bodies up front. Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner. They don't necessarily need another big body right along the line of scrimmage. You can say linebacker, but none of those guys play. If you're talking about a temperature leader, a guy that can change the culture and do some stuff in the room to kind of get them back on track, Jamal Adams is that guy. When you talk to coaches and general managers that interviewed him, they said when he came in, he changes the temperature of the room. The way that he talks, the way that he owns it, he is someone that could be a guy that you can kind of build that defense around. So if I'm going to take a safety at 2, I'll be more inclined to take him as opposed to Malik Hooker.
Safety at 2 is
Eric Turner. I want to say Eric Turner may have been the last guy to go.
Right.
That Eric Turner from Cleveland years ago was one of my former teammates, the late Eric Turner.
And then the Bears, Jaguars, Titans sitting there at 5. I mean, the thing is, though, if the Jets are so known to be quarterback needy by that point on April 27th, don't you think the phone lines ring in San Francisco, Chicago, Jacksonville, Tennessee from somebody that might pop up?
But then I don't know what team is
quarterback needy enough to come back up for those guys.
All the way up for those guys. And I think when you're weighing the proposition, you're weighing the value and the talent versus what I have to give up to get one of those quarterbacks. I don't know if it's that strong right now to say, hey, we have to be in the top 5 to get one of those guys.
And I'm not tooling on you, Law. I'm not doing this. This is not a troll. Hackenberg, is he just useless? I mean, for the Jets to use him 50 for...
We haven't seen him.
That's what I'm saying. So why can't...
a couple preseason games.
But the fact that they're so obviously... and that desperate is one word to be used, obviously, from afar. I'm sitting here at my desk here at El Segundo. I'm about to go up to Culver City and do the free agent frenzy for the NFL Network. From here, it looks like the Jets are certainly deep into trying to get a veteran quarterback that they keep on getting spurned for. I mean, does that mean that Hackenberg is not even remotely an option in year 2?
I think so. I mean, I think if you read the tea leaves, obviously they're kicking the tires on a bunch of veteran quarterbacks because they don't feel good about what they have in the room. Bryce Petty nor Christian Hackenberg. So it has to be one of those guys unless they're going to bring back Geno Smith.
I know we mentioned that before, and I know that's entirely possible, but it's a new regime, right?
New offense coordinator.
But isn't Bates a Cutler guy? Jeremy Bates is on that staff right now.
Jeremy Bates is. I mean, he does have a link to Cutler. I don't know what their relationship is like, but maybe he can go in there and say, "This is what I feel about Jay Cutler. Here's the best way for us to utilize him. This is the best way for us to get the maximum out of him because I've worked with him before." And if you go back and look at their track record, maybe they've had success, and maybe you lean on that opinion. But you really have to know what you're getting in Jay Cutler, and you have to put him in a situation where he feels comfortable enough to be able to do what he does.
And then let's take a break. We come back. Joe Mixon was on Dan Patrick's show, and we're going to get all sorts of other NFL news updates from the Chris Command Center news update in the on the Rich Eisen Show. I'd love to have you sit here for that.
Well,
we can pick your brain on Mixon and more in the running back group and what that might mean for Adrian Peterson once the window opens up in about an hour and a half. Bucky Brooks from the NFL Media Group is sitting right here on the Rich Eisen Show. We're back in 60 ticks of the clock with everything you need to know about a red-hot, soon-to-be free agency period. Bucky Brooks, my friend and compadre from the NFL Media Group, perfect guest because not only do you know your stuff, you have this very calm demeanor about you. You're calming me down, Bucky.
Trying to pump the brakes. You know, I'm really excited because my Tar Heels won, and I know the last time I was here, I got the crying Jordan emoji. I got the crying Jordan face because we lost the championship game. So, but I'm good now.
Okay.
I'm optimistic that we can go back and get it right.
You're back. But we'll have you back, during the tournament too. So
Hopefully.
Never know. All right, let's get a news update from the National Football League news from the Chris Command Center, brought to you by our friends at Honda.
And now, Law and Brockman with the news.
The 2017 Honda CR-V's got available quick heating seats, real-time all-wheel drive. You'll be comfortable even when the roads are not. Hurry into your local Honda dealer to find out how perfectly the CR-V fits your life.
All right, a couple latest free agency news. Looks like the Patriots are going to bring back Alan Branch on a 2-year deal. Big defensive tackle there, kind of in that Vince Wilfork role. Jags are closing in on A.J. Bouye? Is that how you say his name?
Bouye.
Yeah, leaving Houston. Looks like Jacksonville's the landing spot there. Nick Perry, huge deal from Green Bay. 5 years, $60 million, 18.5 guaranteed. He's sticking around there. And the latest from Ian Rappaport, quote, the Patriots are in good communication with Donta Hightower about a possible return.
There you go.
And speaking of, we were talking about James Palmer in one of his reports. He said that Belichick raved about Branch on the re-signing, saying guys like him don't grow on trees, so big, so athletic. Yeah. A guy named Branch doesn't grow on trees. Belichick just next level.
That's next
playing
level
with the media.
What do you think of the Stephon Gilmore signing?
I'm a little surprised, but I think what it does, it tells you what they think about Malcolm Butler. For 2 years, they were able to get by with Malcolm Butler being their number one corner, but maybe they knew that he had some deficiencies that they didn't want to commit to long term. Stephon Gilmore gives them a longer, more athletic guy, someone that is more of a natural number one corner. So now when they kind of cobble their matchups and do the things that they do in the back end, they believe that he can shut down a number one corner and they can go back to double teaming the number two and do it.
Does it make sense to put Cooks in this? I mean, Cooks in any offense is terrific, but I mean,
I will say this. I talked to a defensive coordinator that knows the Patriots very, very well, and he says that the Patriots have been able to do everything that you want to do with B-level talent. So if you give them A-level talent, like a Brandon Cooks would be, who knows what they can do.
But, right? I mean, if you're going to get 9 catches for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns out of Chris Hogan in a championship game weekend, you get the same line stat out of Julio Jones for Atlanta, and you could pay him a fraction of the cost.
I know, but the margin for error is a little different. And
right.
What you say, like, look, you have the greatest quarterback in NFL history in Tom Brady. He's been able to elevate the play of other guys, but imagine what he's able to do when he actually has legitimate weapons that scare people out there. And we've seen him have that before. And I'm not saying that Brandon Cooks is a Randy Moss level player, but when he has guys that can get open on their own accord and you don't always have to scheme it for them, it can be a difference maker. And the thought of having Brandon Cooks with Julian Edelman and some of the other guys that are coming to their own, Malcolm Mitchell.
Yeah, he had a really nice rookie season.
Yes,
Malcolm
he did.
Mitchell.
And he kind of came on to get younger, more athletic, to be able to do more things. It creates some stuff. And also you have to remember, Rob Gronkowski is still a bit of a wild card coming off the injury. You have to kind of build this team, not necessarily knowing what he's going to be able to give you when he returns from his injury.
Dwayne Allen was acquired yesterday just in case.
And so they're just more dynamic. The way they can just attack, I mean, it's just another weapon that they can use when they play their matchup ball. It just gives Tom Brady more weapons, more at his disposal.
And were you as jaw dropped as everybody else watching the defensive backs work out at the Combine in terms of what we're seeing this year?
I mean, they're the best athletes on the field. They're kind of decathletes because they're the only position that starts going backwards before they go forward. And the thing that stood out to me, you had size, you had athleticism, you had speed. Their speed dwarfed the speed that we saw from the wide receivers. So now if you're a team, and I think it has residual effects in free agency. When you go to the Combine and you see that many players at that position run fast, jump high, and can play on tape, it makes you less likely to take some of the options that are available in free agency unless they're legitimate blue chip guys. And so that's why we've seen Stephon Gilmore. We saw A.J. Bouye go, but we may not see some of these other corners go and get paid like they want to get paid because the guys are able to look ahead at the draft and say, I can get what I want in the draft at cost-effective deals more guys are leaning towards
Bucky
that.
Brooks is here. Law, what do you have over there?
Yeah, just one from the hardwood, Rich. Obviously, Bucky being a Carolina guy, you appreciate a good hoop story. But your Wolverines playing in the Big Ten tournament today against Illinois. They did beat them 75-55. But a lot of people noticed they were wearing some odd jerseys, what looked like maybe some throwbacks. Turned out to be their practice jerseys because yesterday the team was involved in a plane incident where their plane skid off the runway due to high winds. Kind of a really scary moment, actually. 109 passengers on board, nobody injured, luckily. But due to the accident, none of the cargo was able to be taken off the plane until the investigation is complete. So the team flew in this morning to D.C. on a 6 a.m. flight, landed at about 8:30. The Big Ten gave them the option of pushing back the time or flopping with Penn State, Michigan State. They said, nope, we want to play right away. They played and played quite well. So now there's some people out there saying they should wear these uniforms the rest of the Big Ten tournament. What say you, Rich, as a Michigan alum?
Look, I'll take it. I'll take it, and I'm just glad that there was nothing going on. But that's interesting, and plus Penn State and Michigan State were ready to flop too. They were everyone was
because
really
those
open.
teams got in last night the time they were supposed to. They Andy Katz was reporting that they were willing to do whatever they needed because obviously Michigan was a little shaken up, but probably adrenaline rushing at that point.
Joe Mixon was on Dan Patrick's show today. Do you have that soundbite, Del Tufo? Play it for Bucky Brooks, will you please?
I respect how they feel. I can't get past the video. It's hard. I'm the one who did it, and unfortunately, I'm the one who has to live with it. I wouldn't keep dwelling on the past. It happened 3 years ago. I wouldn't keep dwelling on, something that happened 3 years ago. I understand that it happened, unfortunately, and I can't take it back. I mean, if I could, I would. At the end of the day, I'm sorry, for, the people that's affected by it. I'm sorry to the girl. At the end of the day, it's just, something I got to live with, unfortunately. And I just try to, deal with it the best way possible.
What are you hearing, Bucky Brooks, about Mixon right now?
Okay, a couple different things. I have to preface it. I've known Joe Mixon since he was in high school. I work on the Nike opening tour. He was one of the participants a few years ago. And I'll say this about him as a player. As a player, he might be the most talented running back at the position. He is one of the only guys that can do the prototypical stuff that NFL running backs have to do. Meaning he can run inside, outside. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can split out and run routes like a wide receiver. He is a wild player with the ball in his hands. When I talk to running back coaches, they're excited about the talent and the potential. And it's intoxicating to watch and think about what he can bring at the next level. The issue is, how do you sell him to not only the general manager, but to ownership? And who is willing to handle the PR hit that comes along with bringing him in? We all can acknowledge the deplorable act, this despicable act that he was a part of.
Of course.
But in this league where talent is at a premium, it's the risk-reward debate that you will have in meeting rooms, because this is a guy that can change the game with his talent. And you have to figure out, where can I value him? If he's on our board at all, where is the right spot to take him? Because he's one of those guys that you talk about being a difference maker that offensive coordinators want to have, because he is unique in the way that he plays.
So if he didn't cold cock that young lady, he'd be number one on the running back draft board?
I think you can make a strong case that he is the number one guy in terms of talent. His versatility, his explosiveness, what he can do is unique. Anyone who had a chance to look at him in the Sugar Bowl, I think he had 190 total yards from scrimmage, almost 100 rushing and receiving. He was the best player on the field, and he was explosive. And the way that he can get his production, his yards, his touchdowns, he can do it in a unique fashion. And, I mean, it's unlike what most guys coming from college can do. He's a unique player. I compared him to David Johnson for the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow.
Based on how he plays. And
wow,
in weighing that talent versus the other stuff, that's why you have so many people hedging their bet on, I don't know if we thrown him off the board yet. Because if you notice, when they ask general managers and decision makers,
they're all,
you haven't got, oh, no, he's off our board. Because the talent is that intoxicating that you're having to weigh, am I willing to dismiss this guy based on the potential that he could have on our squad?
Well, I haven't interviewed a general manager who's had a player with a history of violence towards women yet. So, I mean, I imagine if you ask Dave Gettleman of Carolina, if you ask Ozzie Newsome
there are a handful of places where,
you know what I mean?
where it doesn't play. Like Carolina wouldn't play. Baltimore certainly couldn't play. I don't think it probably could play.
See, that's the
in
problem
Dallas.
that people have, Bucky, is that it doesn't play in places like that because they've already had players who have done that. Teams who haven't had that, oh, yeah, we're open to the idea of,
and I also
running
think,
that risk.
I also think it's beyond that. I think the head coach who makes the move, who kind of signs off on this, has to be entrenched and have currency. Like a Bill Belichick has currency where it wouldn't matter. Like he could deal with the backlash and it won't be an issue. Also, I think the market where he plays has something to do with it. I think if he's not in a major metropolitan area, a smaller town where the market is more controlled by the team as opposed to the market controlling the team, it's different. So I believe there are a lot of things in play, and you kind of have to just know the temperature of the room, and you have to get it past ownership, because which owner is willing to take the stuff that goes along with it? There are a handful of guys that are okay, not okay with the issue, but okay potentially with the fallout that may come with it.
Last minute I have with you, Bucky Brooks, is how does this running back rookie class affect the free agent with Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson sitting out there? Latavius Murray expected to be out there too.
A couple of different things. Two of those guys are older. They've been in the league for a long time. And with running backs, typically you talk about having maybe the 5-year expiration date. This class is deep. It's talented. You can get guys throughout the draft that can come in and be immediate contributors. At the top of the board, the Leonard Fournettes, the Dalvin Cooks, even the Christian McCaffreys, Alvin Kamara's, those guys can make big-time contributions right away. So when you're looking at the free agent market versus what is available in the draft, why do I want to expend a lot of money for an older player when I feel like I can get the value in a younger player that doesn't have the mileage and I can get him on a friendly deal?
What if you're the Giants and you already got Paul Perkins sitting there, and Adrian Peterson might be sitting there for a nice, simple chunk of change, and you've already gotten Brandon Marshall, and you are ready to roll?
You are ready to roll. I think the big thing with Adrian Peterson is the fit. He's a one-dimensional player in terms of he's great in that one dimension, being a runner that can do it between the tackles, but he doesn't offer you anything in the passing game. The reason Jamal Charles may go off the board quicker, he's more versatile, and he's just as productive when you look at his yards per carry throughout his career. Adrian Peterson needs to be in a downhill hammerhead offense where he can just kind of smash it in between.
Is that why he's talking Raiders? Is that why he's talking
I think that's
Seattle?
why he wants to go. That's why he wants to go to the Raiders. He would like that fit. But they're all pumping the brakes and waiting, because you're talking about a running back that's over 30 years old. You can get those guys. You can take your time and wait for that price to come down, because the longer he's out, the more his price comes down.
Love having you on. Let's get you back on.
Cool. Thanks so much.
And we'll do it on a day when UNC is not playing in the tournament.
Hopefully, right after we kind of cut down the nets.
Okay. So the Tuesday, first Tuesday in April, we'll book you.
The ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof.
That's amazing.
Good to see you, Bucky Brooks.
Cool,
I'll see you up to 4:05.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.